Imagine this. You show up to a sales call and the prospect actually gives you money at the end of it. Now, I know for some of you, that's beyond your wildest imagination. For some of you, maybe it happens, but not as often as you would like. Well, last month, I hit 2 financial milestones for my personal life. The first one is it was the first month where I went through an entire month of sports betting on NFL football and actually came out ahead. And the second one was that I crossed $3 million in online sales in my entrepreneurial career. Now, the reason I was able to do the first one is because my buddy developed this AI betting software that actually kind of works. And the second one I was able to do largely in part due to the exact video sales letter script that I'm going to give you guys in this video. Now, this video sales letter script doesn't only work for me with somebody who have years of marketing and sales experience. It's even been working for some of our active agency clients who don't have much of a marketing background, but they've been able to take this script that I'm going to give to you. They've literally just copied it, plug in played their offers, plug in played their service delivery, and been able to have sales calls where the prospects show up, are qualified, like them, are interested in what they do, and they just have to answer the final questions to get them to close. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump into the full training. We're going to detail exactly how we make these VSLs, what to say at each individual part, so you guys can copy paste it, implement it into your business, and close more deals. All right, so how to create a high converting video sales letter. Now, before making your video sales letter, you have to complete your offer. That should be pretty self-explanatory, and I won't get into the obvious reasons why. Now, getting into the actual structure here. So we're going to start with a hook. We're going to hook people in. Then we're going to establish trust. We're going to qualify them. Then we're going to introduce the painful problem that they're experiencing. We're going to bridge that to the unmet desire. We're going to establish our authority. We're going to introduce them to a new opportunity, something that they've never tried before. We're going to establish more trust to back up that new opportunity. We're going to explain to them what we do, stacking the value of our service. We're going to make our call to action at the end. So starting with the hook. The hook should either be your offer or your most successful landing page headline. So if you already have an offer and it's a really good offer, you've sold a couple clients on it, you can literally just put that as the first slide. In addition to that, if you're running ads or if you have headlines or lead magnets or anything like that, and you have some data to back up successful landing pages, typically I will just put whatever my most successful landing page headline is as the hook for the VSL, obviously so long as it aligns with the service that I am offering. So the way that I typically structure off the hook will be slide number 1, if your target demo ... Slide number 2, I will high dream outcome without pain, effort, sacrifice, time. So typically be 3 slides. Number 1, if your target demo, you're calling out specifically who they are. And again, we don't want to just say like real estate agents. We want to be more specific than that. Hey, if you're a real estate agent that's been in business for more than 5 years, but you're doing less than 3 deals per month, I will high dream outcome without effort, pain, sacrifice, and time. Now, once we've said that, we want to immediately back it up with a claim. So I'll typically say something along the lines of, for example, ... Then I'll go into my top case studies. Now, as I share the case studies, I like to do so in story format, because if we just share the case studies, right, we have to understand like the paradigm of proof when we're sharing case studies, right? On the very far side over here, it would be like you meeting your prospect in person with your most successful client and your most successful client telling them why they should work with you. On the very extreme side over here, it's just like a random text in quotes that said like, you're a great person to work with, right? So the closer that we can get to the real life experience, the better, right? Now, obviously we're just creating a VSL, so we can't have our client, obviously be there in person. A video testimonial would be great, right? That is one really good way that you could do it, especially if they're sharing the story. But if you don't have access to that, what you can do is that instead of just saying like, oh, case study, you say, hey, this is, client number 1. They started in this situation. They struggle with this. We got in touch with them. We changed this, and this, and here are the results. Now, in regards to how I actually format these, if I come down to here, It'll typically be like this: result in time frame or before state to after state. Then I'll say, client is a niche offering service product to target market in location, what their backstory is and their problem that they were facing. So for example, one of the case studies that I had from my gym agency was Twist Performance and Wellness is a gym offering personal training and group training to a variety of clientele in Port Coquitlam, BC. Twist already had a great product, but lacked a scalable method for attracting new leads. This compounded with harsh COVID restrictions had the future of Twist in jeopardy. Shows context and introduce them to a story. Then I'll say after how you got in contact with them, what strategy you came up with, and the proposed solution. So that's how we got in contact with them. This is the strategy that we came up with and the proposed solution. And then lastly, I'll share the results. Now, one of the most important things with the results is that you don't only share the external transformation that they went through, but also the internal transformation, right? So the external transformation in this case was Michelle and her team spent $523 to close $7,960 upfront worth of business through leads that were generated from this campaign. Now that's the external transformation. Now, more importantly, we want to dive into the internal transformation. So internally, Michelle's anxiety decreased and she was hopeful again, as she was now able to generate new business despite the COVID-19 challenges. Now, this is very important because remember, people buy with emotion and they justify with logic. People aren't buying your product or service to grow their business. They're buying your product or service to increase their status, to decrease their anxiety, to, get more time back so they can spend it with their loved ones, whatever that case may be, whatever is specific to your niche. That is the real reason that they're buying your product or service. They're not buying it to just grow their business. That's what, we have to think, as a result of growing their business, what happened to them? That's going to speak to them a lot more than if we just talk about the numbers on a screen. And in addition to that, sharing as much social proof as possible. Obviously, the more legit it is, the better. Now, once we've established and said, for example, case study 1, case study 2, case study 3, we want to get into the qualification section. So for the qualification, we want to write who this is for and who this is not for. Now, when listing out who this is for, we want to use the detailed targeting from our offer creation and list out the facts of our ideal clients instead of the characteristics. Now, this is a big mistake that I see marketers make all the time, right? We want to use language such as if you're a gym with 100 to 200 active members, instead of if you're a gym that is hungry to grow, if you're a gym that is not afraid of investing into, shut up. That's just cliche. It's just it just sounds like you're trying to overcome their objective. It just doesn't sound right. We want to qualify them because we want to make them believe that this is specifically for them. This is a custom solution specifically for them in their exact situation. Now, the example that I have is, let's say you're like me, you're a 23-year-old young man. Now, fact about me is that when I was in high school, I was about 175 pounds. About 5-6 years later, I'm about 185 pounds, right? So I've, added about 10 pounds of probably muscle in the last, 5 or 6 years. Now, if I wanted to get to 195 pounds of muscle, fitness program probably wouldn't interest me. A fitness program for men probably wouldn't interest me, but a little bit more. A fitness program for young men might interest me a little bit more. However, a fitness program for 20 to 30-year-old men who want to add 10 pounds of muscle in the next 6 months would interest me the most. Now, it could be the same core offer of a fitness program, but just because I got so specific about who it is that this is for, the increased value and the likeliness that I actually want to enroll in a program like that, 5, 6, 10x, right? And that is the same effect that we want to have as we go through our qualification process. Now, in addition to that, the next slide, we should list out who this is not for. So when listing out who this is for, who this is not for, again, we want to use the facts instead of the characteristics, right? Now, in addition to that, we want to disqualify, as we disqualify people, we want to mention why these people aren't a good fit, which subconsciously shows why the people who you do want to work with are a good fit. Right? So for example, you could say something along the lines of listen, this is not for in-person businesses, as we're going to use our systems to scale your offer nationwide or worldwide. Right? So for example, we disqualify hey, if you're an in-person business, this is not for you, because if you are because we're going to scale you worldwide, right? Which disqualifies the in-person businesses, but then also subconsciously shows the online businesses why they are a good fit. Now from there, we'll get into the painful problem. Now, before we get into the painful problem, we need to give our audience permission for failing in the past and explain to them why we did. Now, we do this by first conducting market research to establish all the things that your target market has tried in the past: lead gen, Facebook ads, mass cold email, etc. And then we tell them that their attempted strategy just doesn't work anymore. So, for example, you could say something like, the truth is, running lead generation, Facebook ads to try and get mortgage leads just doesn't work anymore. Now, after we've called out their old method, we want to make the argument that it is the root of their problems. And we do this by first saying, and as a result, ... And then we want to list out the 3 to 5 of the daily problems that they experience. But the truth is, most of you guys do this wrong. Now, I've reviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of VSLs from clients that I've worked with over the years. And like 90% of people screw this up, because when they're talking about the problem, they mention the actual problem instead of the symptoms. But the problem is that your target market probably doesn't know what the actual problem is, because they would fix it if they did. They just know the symptoms that they're dealing with. So, for example, if you go to the doctor, you don't say, "Oh, doc, I have a virus. I have this specific virus." You say, "Doc, I have a headache, I have a sore throat, I have a pain in my side, and I can't sleep at night." Right? So when we're sharing the painful problem, we want to bring up their version of the headache, the sore throat, their pain in the side, and that they can't sleep at night. Right? So for example, instead of saying, "Oh, and the problem is that you suck at sales," we say, "And after every sales call you take, you get hit with the 'I need to think about it' objection." Instead of saying, "Oh, well, it's because you have a weak offer," we say, "And you constantly deal with prospects that don't want to pay up front because they've been burned in the past." Right? Now we transition into the unmet desire. So after we've pierced their heart with the daily problems keeping them up at night, we want to tell them that there's a way to solve it. And we do this by saying something like, "Well, the good news is that it doesn't have to be this way." And then we transition to our new opportunity by saying something like, "In fact, there's a new opportunity." And that's when you want to introduce your unique mechanism, whatever it is that's unique about your offer, that allows target market, that allows real estate agents that have been in business for over 5 years doing less than 3 deals per month to. And then we want to get into the actual desires and the actual lifestyle changes that they can experience as a result. Now, similar to the painful problem, the unmet desire isn't what they want at face value, but what they want gives them. So again, your prospect doesn't want 10 new remodeling jobs. They want to feel secure in the fact that they're going to make money for months to come. Their wife will look at him proud, and his daughter will be able to sign up for after-school activities without him worrying about money, and he'll even have the free time to attend them and strengthen his relationship with his daughter. And this is why it is extremely important to deeply understand your niche for this part. So at this point, we're going to transition into the authority. And at this point, we've made some claims and demonstrated that we know who our target market is. But you have to think, right? We've come on, they probably don't know who we are. They don't know much about us. We've made some bold claim. We've shown some case studies to back up that proof. And then we've really made it personal with them. Right? We've shown them that we deeply understand where their problems are and what they deal with on a day-to-day basis and where they want to go. But the problem is they're going to be wondering, who is this guy? Right? The who am I question is going to be lingering in their heads. And so for the authority section, I like to do it in 2 parts. The first thing I talk about is my accomplishments, and then I'll go into my clients' accomplishments. Now, for the intro, I like to say something like, "Now, who am I to claim dream outcome?" Well, first, I'll give you the bullshit reason, and then I'll give you the real reason. Now, for the BS reason, what I'll do is I'll list out the personal success that I've had. So, scaled, Wilson Media to 25K a month, Outwork Media to 25K a month, Mortgage AI to 36K a month, RSC to $70,000 a month, Catalyst Holdings to 200K a month, Top Young Entrepreneur of the Year. I would just go through and list out all the different, accomplishments that I've had. But then after showing what I've personally done, I'll typically transition with a statement such as, "Listen, I may have done that, but I don't believe that you should think I'm qualified or not qualified based on what I've done, but based on what my clients have done, based on what the people that I've helped have done." And then I'll go through and I'll share client data such as success percentages or average results. I'll share the number of clients served. I'll share additional case studies as well as testimonials, right? So we have the frame of here's the BS reason, here's what I've done, but you don't care about that because that's me, that's not you. You only care about how I can help you. And so the real reason that you should listen to me is because of everything that I've done for my clients. Now from there, we go into the new opportunity. So after we've established our authority, it's time to show them the new opportunity that we have for them. And I like to do this in story format. So I'll start by saying, but it wasn't always that way, to transition out of the authority section. Then I'll share the journey in story format that I went on to develop my service. So there's once a story about a guy who he was up on stage and he was teaching these like super valuable lessons, right? That's how he made like a whole bunch of money running these funnels and all that kind of stuff, right? And he jumps on stage and he's like, so step 1 is I did this, step 2 is I did this, step 3 is I did this. And halfway through the presentation, people were on their phones, they were yawning and they weren't paying attention. And he didn't understand it because he was like, why are you guys not paying attention? Like this is like literally could change your life. Right? But the problem with that is that he didn't preface his advice. He didn't preface what he does with a story. So people didn't believe it. Then the very next presentation, he showed up, right? And instead of just going into step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, he told the story about how he learned or earned the lessons that he's going to share today, right? So instead of just jumping into it, he's like, back 6 years ago, I was da-da-da-da-da. And he went through his actual story and did it in quick and an engaging format, following the structure that I'm going to share with you guys right now. And then he introduced the actual lessons. And when he did that, everybody was paying attention. Everybody was attentive. And he sold a whole bunch of people on his offer at the end of it. So that's why it's very important to, before you just get into, here's what we do, all that kind of stuff, you preface it with the actual story. So how I like to tell this story is first the backstory. So what is the backstory that gives your prospect a vested interest in your journey? Then you get in, what is the desire or result that you wanted to achieve? What are your internal desires? What are your external desires? And then what were the old things that you were trying in the past to get the same results that didn't work for you? Right. So in this, you could talk about when you were first starting your company, what you wanted to achieve internally, what you wanted to achieve externally, and what you were doing when you first started to try and get results that wasn't working. Then you want to get into the journey. So what was the call or the reason that made you actually want to start this journey? So what actually made you want to think that like, hey, I need to do something different here? Who or what was the villain that was keeping you from having the success? So what was stopping you from being able to succeed right away? And then one of the most important parts of the story is what will happen if you don't succeed on this journey. Then we want to get into the new opportunity. So who is the guy that gave you the new opportunity? It could be like you went on a trip, you met with a gym owner, you went to a mastermind, and I was introduced to this new way of doing things. What was the epiphany that you experienced? And what was the new opportunity that you created as a result of your epiphany? Then we want to get into the frameworks. So what is the strategy or frameworks that you developed to get the desire that you wanted to achieve? What were the results that you got by following the framework? And what were the results that others got by following the framework? And then from there, it's like, what end result did you accomplish or achieve, your external desires, and how did you transform during your journey? Now, obviously, we're doing this in relation to how you went to develop your service, right? We're not talking about, how much money you're personally making or anything like that. The results and the end goal would be the results that you're getting for your clients. Now, this was actually developed from one of the most transformational books that I've ever read, completely transformed my life, and is a huge, reason as to why I'm here today. It's Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. So if you want more context onto this right here, I highly recommend that you pick up and you read that book. So here's the example story that I used selling in the gym space. So this was actually the exact story that I used. And a funny story is that the first time I ever whipped this out in the gym space, it was a phone close. Like I was just calling the guy over the phone. I told him this story, and at the end of it, he said, Dylan, I don't know if you have the ability to work with us, but I would be honored to be able to work with you. And then paid me $5,000. And at that point, I remember just sitting there on the phone being like, what did I just say? This is way too powerful, right? But here it is. This was the exact story that I would say when I was selling in the gym space. So I used to run a local marketing agency. And at the time, I was making about $20,000 a month at 19, 20 years old. I was, recognized as actually the top young entrepreneur in my county, but I was overworked. And I had many nagging cheap clients that really just sucked the fun out of life for me. And really, I wanted to transition to a service that was more valuable to my clients. I wanted to become a master of one thing as opposed to kind of helping out a whole bunch of people. And I also wanted to build systems that would work every time. And more importantly, I wanted to get rid of the daily stress, right? So I niched down to just work on the fitness industry because that was the one that I was doing the best with and I could get results. And that was when I actually came across Alan, which was an SMS lead nurture system. And at the time, I invested a whole bunch of money into courses, both with Alan and then some other programs. And I learned every single thing that I could. I locked myself in my room, just soaking up knowledge like a sponge. And as a result, I ended up picking up 5 new clients with these new lessons that I've learned. but the service delivery sucked. And now I was in a position where my time was ticking and I had a big guarantee at stake. My back was against the wall, so I had to shut off Alan. And what I did is I wanted to just figure out like what was going on. Why are these leads not converting? You're getting 20, 30, 40 appointments per month. Why is it not working for you? So I put myself in his shoes. I put ads on my own credit card. And what I did is I started calling up leads to set personal sales calls with me just to see like what is going on. Like, why are these people not closing? And I brought him 10 clients in his first 10 days. And he had 5 before we started. And I realized that the problem was that all these other agencies, they're running these funnels and these SMS automation and all this AI stuff. And people just want to talk to a real human. So I simplified the system. I brought on support and integrated some time-saving softwares. I started to run ads to find interested people. And then I built a team of North American sales rep to call, financially qualify, and pre-sell the leads on the gym's behalf. Then we set appointments with the gyms for ready to talk to and ready to buy leads. And the clients only paid after we sent them a pre-qualified lead. And as the result is I actually went to another gym to prove this concept. I set up the system and we sold 24 members at $600 each in just 4 days. And in addition to that, case study 1, case study 2, case study 3, and now I'm in such a better place. I have reliable systems that work. And most importantly, my clients are absolutely crushing it and they're happy. Right. So that is how I introduced the new opportunity. Instead of just saying, hey, we run ads and then have a North American sales rep that calls up and financially pre-qualifies the leads, I tell it in a story format because it creates so much more power to the story. Now, after I go through the transformation, as I get through the other results in an achievement section, I'll brief on more case studies, right? Ideally, you have a couple in your backlog that you can share to there to back that up. Then we'll get into the what we do. So as I start with explaining what we do, I like to transition with a statement such as, so do you want to solve painful problems so you can reach unmet desire? Then I will restate my offer. So for example, you could say, so do you want to stop suffering from these high interest rates and get a bulletproof flow of loan applications coming to your desk? We'll build you your own automated deal flow system and secure 10 closed and funded loans in the next 180 days, or it's free. Now, for the value stacking, we want to break down each part of what we do and anchor it to what it would cost them on their own or how much it costed you to develop this. Now, as we do this, we want to include a real image that's social proof and write bullet points that use our target demos language. So instead of saying like CRM, we could say quote management system for home improvement. We want to hit on the value equation. So show them the high dream outcome, the added revenue, the save time, the better lifestyle that they can achieve, the high likelihood of achievement, the number of successful clients, the high relevance to them, the low effort and sacrifice, copy and paste, done for you, low cost, etc., and the low time delay, the 1 hour, 1 week, 1 month, etc. And we always want to be doing this by speaking in your client's best interest. Now, one of the mistakes that I see people make is they're going through the VSLs, and when they're value stacking, they're like, hey, we do this, which is worth $10,000. Right? But you have to justify why it's worth $10,000, right? Did you have to pay somebody $10,000 to build it out for you, right? Did you have to spend $10,000 on ads to find the winning ad, right? Or if they went with another agency that charged them monthly for 3 months, would it cost $10,000? Like, you have to show them why it's actually justified at $10,000, or people won't believe you. Then we'll get into the total value stack. So after we've covered the features to our service, we want to recap them by listing each one out with its associated costs. And at the end, we want to show how much effort, sacrifice, and time delay it would cost them to do it on their own, right? So for example, you can see everything that we offer here at Catalyst Holdings. Now, lastly is the call to action. So we need to make the call to action to book with you. And I like to do this by bringing up one of my most powerful case studies and say, listen, these guys were in the exact same situation as you months ago. The only difference is that they booked a call. Then I like to add some bonuses for booking a call and justify the bonuses by saying not everyone is qualified to work with us, but everyone who speaks with us gets left off in a better situation than they are today. And this is 100% true. Like, for example, at our agency, we get 3,000 to 4,000 applications per month, like 3,000 to 4,000 people reaching out to us, interested in learning more about what we do and all that kind of stuff. We sure as hell don't work with 2,000 people every month, right? Right now, we onboard anywhere between 20 to 30 new people per month, right? Most people just aren't qualified to work with us. They're not in the right headspace. They don't have the money, whatever the case may be. But every person who does get on a call with us, we show them how to find an extra $1 million in their agency, even if they're a beginner. We give them tangible, dummy-proof steps on how to implement what your business needs to scale to $100,000 a month. We show them exactly what your business needs in order to break through $100,000 a month. It's probably not what you think it is. And we also give them the complete 12 months to $1 million offer, scripts, team trainings, and more on how to execute everything that we discussed today on the call without us, right? So by massively increasing the perception of value of the call, you're going to book calls, and then it allows us to operate from a place from abundance where we can just pick the ones that we want to work with because we get so many calls. So that is a complete run through of how to create a high converting video sales letter. I hope you got value out of this video. If you have any questions about this, just leave a comment below. I'll personally jump in, respond, and help you out. And other than that, I wish you guys all the best. I'll see you guys in the next video.